the.
And Joy, sorry, we have to do this, right? What the hell happened? Sorry, I swear.
Can you still see us, Joy?
Yeah, I can still see you. You might have to just press yes that we're allowing you to record.
Close again, that's Dropbox. This won't open again. This is what the Chromebook does. So I have to go back and do this again.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. And then I have to say, got it, or it won't work for us. It'll stop.
So,
Is you're the one that checks who's in the waiting room, right? Joy?
There's no waiting room. Anybody can just come in.
Oh, you just come in? Ooh,
Yep.
Seems like you know about technology. Okay.
so
Here comes
so
Marie.
Finance Committee meeting to order.
Yes, please.
The first thing we're gonna do is go over the bills that we have to pay and see if anybody has any questions about any of them. Anybody have any questions?
I didn't have anything.
No?
No.
Oh, there's Marie. Hello, Marie.
Hi there.
We're just going over the bills, seeing if anybody has any questions.
I saw that, okay. I was
Okay.
thinking of something else.
Okay.
I was on a different report.
Okay, we're just gonna, so if no one has any questions, then at this point, do I make a motion to, that the finance committee is making a motion, or do we do that like when we get into the board
We
meeting?
do this now.
Do that now. Yes. So let's make a motion to pay bills in the amount of $56,556.94, which does include the credit card payment.
And
Second that.
Does everybody agree?
I,
All right. And so that, no one had any questions about the credit card bill either?
No.
So then we can move on to the, we have the tax levy schedule of payments. I don't know if anybody had any questions on that. We don't need to like approve any, all right? So then I guess we'll start with the income statement. Let's see, anybody have any comments, questions?
I saw that some things were highlighted.
Yes.
What does that indicate?
I just highlighted that just because it's not normally, there's normally not normally no amounts, but sometimes there's just like deposits. For example, the legislative grant, normally we would say there's not really a lot going on there, and then now there is. So I just wanted to highlight some of that just in case anybody had any questions.
Okay, so
And
so
on-
there are things that are on the unusual side.
Yes, and then on the side, at the very end there, I put like a little bit of a explanation, just in case you had a question.
Okay.
Thanks, Joy.
Yep.
And then when I was talking to Joy, the McCarthy grant for 15,000, I don't know if other people, well, Paul had it in his notes, so that's going to be used for the copiers, which makes sense when you look at our expenses being $6,000 to pay to fix the copiers. So good use of money, I think.
mhm.
Does anybody have any questions about, other questions? About the income statement?
I thought it was interesting to see how much the current year tax levy, how much less we get of that than projected, but it's made up for by the past years, so that it's not as discrepant as it might otherwise be.
Yes, yeah, we're pretty,
And for those who are fairly new to the board, the reason that is an issue is because originally we got much less in the way of the tax levy than we were expecting because of those who hadn't paid their tax bills. And thank you, Joy, for the annotations.
Oh, sure. I think you're muted, Evelyn. Oh. I think, Marie, they're trying to figure it out on their side.
I'm sorry, what am I missing?
I think they're just muted, and so they're trying to figure out.
Oh, in the office they're muted?
Yep, in the office they're muted.
okay.
There we
how's
go.
that?
Yep,
Okay.
now we can hear you.
Okay, you said that, Joy. All right, so we missed whatever you guys were saying.
Marie was mentioning something about the tax levy.
Right, and then was that reconciled to your satisfaction, or? Did you have a question about it, Marie, or you just?
No,
knowing-
just pointing it out. This is the first year we've kept track of how much we're getting from the previous year
Okay.
versus the current year. And it's, it's just interesting to see and get a better handle on.
On back taxes in Troy?
Yes.
Okay. So let's move on to the balance sheet. Does anybody have any questions about the balance sheet? No? We can move on to the bank statements. We'll start with the operating expense account reconciliation. I mean, do I need to go through these individually, or can we just say, are there any questions about any of the bank statements?
I think normally we just ask if there's any questions. So that,
About anything?
yeah,
Or just-
about the reconciliations.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, we'll
sure,
start with
just
the-
ask me anything, it's fine.
Document by document. Are there any questions? So are there any questions about the bank account reconciliations? They look good to me. And then the final piece we have is the one that shows, which I find the most confusing, is the
I think Zoom is stuttering.
Yep. Of course, it's right when, okay, there we go. Might be the office, 1 second.
investment account that's restricted, construction account reserves. I can hear you, Joe, but you're frozen. Oh, there you go. Can you hear us?
Yes, you were frozen earlier too. I think we were just taking turns freezing.
Okay. So does anybody have any questions about the 2021 investment account 1227?
Are there questions that you have?
No, no, it's just, I think, no. I talked to Joy a little bit today about,
Are they gone again?
Yep, I'm gonna try to see if my computer might work. better.
Everybody else understands what this is and why it is the way it is, but. All yours. I wonder if, is it, can you hear us, Joy?
I'm a mainframe guy. I haven't played with it.
I can hear you. I'm just, do you want me to try to use my work computer right behind you? It might be a little bit more reliable for Zoom. What do you think?
How would that work? How would that?
She's-
I'm accessing it right now, and then you guys could just turn around and use that.
Sorry, but this is like fun.
This one just keeps like not working, so.
Yes, yeah, we keep freezing.
Yeah,
Is your work computer hardwired?
yes, it's hardwired.
Okay, so there's a picture on there. And, oh, is it coming on? Oh, look at that. We can see.
So should we sign out of this one, Joy?
Yes, you can, and then let me just make sure that it doesn't echo for you.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave meeting from this one, right? I'm gonna move meeting on this one.
Testing, can you hear that?
Yeah, a little more sound, please.
A little bit more, you said?
Yes, please.
Sure.
We're far.
Is that good? You guys, if you want to scoot over to the other table, that might be better.
At your desk?
Yes, on my desk.
Stuff on.
It's musical meeting. We're just moving everywhere. Okay.
I don't know. Don't know.
And feel free to
Sure.
move that monitor. The monitor can turn. There we go. Yep. To whatever you need.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So to the investment account and the different divisions. Does anybody have any questions on that report? Then I guess we call the meeting to a close.
Yeah, if there's nothing else, is there any other questions or anything else we have to talk about?
You want to hear? Oh, do we want to do that now?
Do we want to cover up the order now or hold it off till January? I think that's the big question.
Well, you can start talking about it and maybe wait till January to do something. Think about first, please.
So the question is whether or not to go with the same auditors. Is that correct?
Yes, and what we need to do if we're going to do that.
Marie,
How are you doing, right?
I'm sorry, so somebody asking me a question?
yeah, say that again, Evelyn. We didn't hear her. Sorry.
Problems or issues with the job that they've been doing, correct?
I had no problem or issues. Marie, did you have any issues or problem with the auditors?
I thought they did a good job. And I thought it was necessary after having been with the old auditor for so long
Mhm.
to have a fresh set of eyes on what we were doing.
And how long have we been with these auditors?
1 year.
Just
And
1 year? Okay.
And I think that we made we indicated that we would be continuing with them.
Okay.
Probably should continue more than one.
And I don't even think, well, we looked for quotes, but I think there's something about not even needing to. There's a piece that we didn't have to bid it out either, so.
We can bring that up in the meeting then.
It might be better to wait to discuss this because you keep cutting out.
Right, was there still a reason that processing communication with the auditors?
I have had no issues. Was that your question?
Well, I thought the question is if you're gonna use them next year, what's the timeline? When do we have to?
Oh,
commit?
I see what you're saying. Okay, got it. So if we do decide to use the Bonadillo group, we just have to let them know so that they can issue at the beginning of the year, probably engagement letter. And then from there, I think we start working together in March because I have to have time to gather everything and get everything that they need. And then I can't remember their turnaround time, but it was pretty quick a little bit after that.
So if we didn't discuss this until January, would it be a problem for you?
For me, no, it would not be a problem.
For them to do whatever paperwork they're supposed to do in return?
I don't believe so. I think it's just an actual letter saying you want to use them.
And from what Bob had said when he worked on this last year, the sooner we get any results, the better, because if there are issues, you would want to have the feedback quickly so you can then correct them as quickly as possible.
Right, but if we then wait till next month to send them that letter, that, delays it a month, you consider the realm of acceptable?
Well, it also is delayed by the fact that the information isn't going to be available until next month. You have to wait until the completion of the year to even have the data, and then, as Joy says, she has to work on it. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't think it would delay it, but we could ask them whether
Okay.
it
Well,
would.
Now and then to say, let's send that letter, so it's either now or January, the second Tuesday.
Yeah, it's absolutely no problem.
Okay.
It's really
And then
great.
let's- January.
Yep.
Okay.
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 And so basically, it would be like we would say, the finance committee suggests that we stick with the same auditors.
Yep. And then I just email them saying, send us an engagement letter, please. Then they'll send it to us. And I think you might just have to sign it even electronically, I believe, and then we just proceed from there. But like I said, I don't really see them until March anyway. They won't contact me for information.
That way you don't have to do it without Paul here, because that, basically, that's the reason why we're putting it off.
That's all. We don't
Because
have a
there's
whole
only the 4 of us.
contingent.
Well,
Then another piece of paper you don't have it on there. But, and Jerry.
okay,
Jerry
Yeah,
will
let
sign
it
it,
right
definitely.
January.
okay.
Just, I don't know if it's on my part, but what, would it be helpful for you, Joy, to just ask them about the time frame and ask them if say mid-January would do for requesting the engagement letter?
Sure, yeah, I don't mind asking them that at all.
When we meet in January, we can say, yes, there's no problem.
Yeah, it's never been a problem with any of the auditors. It's really, just a piece of paper that they sign and yes, or whatever, so. And they have all of our information from prior years, so it won't take as long as maybe even it took last time.
That Paul had put it on this agenda, so he might have had something in mind about we should get moving now.
Okay. So then, any more questions for the finance committee? Motion to close the meeting,
Motion to adjourn.
or adjourn the meeting?
Adjourn, close, yes.
Second.
All right.
Okay.
And I tweeted it. And I don't see Marie, but is Marie like incognito?
No, I think he disconnected.
I will call this meeting to order. Which is basically really the finance report and expenditures, expenditure approvals. Our finance chair would like to make a report.
So I'm just gonna make a motion to pay the bills. Does anybody have any questions? That wasn't at the finance meeting, which is just you, Kirsten, about the bills?
Are there any unusual bills?
No, I didn't see anything besides the check to myself.
I'm glad that was a joke and very clearly not part of the, yes, report.
There. No, there is an expense in there. It's a lost paycheck from when I was working here. That was, there's actually is one in there. So I will make a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $56,556.94. All those in favor?
You get a second? Did somebody second?
Yes,
Keith seconded.
he
Keith?
did.
Okay. Hi.
Okay. And you can also look and say, there's no public. No public. Just for the day, everything else will be held for our January board meeting. We have had a suggestion though to acknowledge the passing of Michael Estovito, who was and in his own way is still a major supporter of this library. And we just want to have a moment to remember him and be grateful for all he's done in support of this library.
Was it mentioned that he, that the family has asked for donations to the library
Yes,
in his memory?
yes. And I would say that I was, as you were at the service at the wake, and thank the family for doing. Remembered how I got to meet Michael. So. True supporter and one of the nicest people I've ever met. He was to everybody. He was. Motion to adjourn.
Could I have a few questions? Is there space on the agenda for that? So I understand that the library has had a COVID exposure. And I was curious what the impact of that is. Is there any possibility the library might have to close?
We're just taking care, being very careful about,
You're breaking up. I don't know whether other people are having the same experience.
at this point, the
Yes.
answer is no. And the same process with anyone else on staff saying they have been exposed or have tested positive is being followed. So at this point, there is not an issue of the library closing. But it's something that's being kept a very careful eye on, as it always has been.
And it's been reported to the health department?
I believe so.
Okay, I just, having gone through the experience of being exposed and being told to quarantine for 10 days.
Mhm.
I
Yes,
was,
the person is not in attendance at the library.
right, the person who has COVID, but I did not have COVID. I was exposed to somebody who had COVID and I was told to quarantine for 10 days.
I believe the new mandates, especially on our safety plan, it says that if you have been vaccinated and you don't have symptoms, you're able to come to work.
Okay. I don't, my experience was that wasn't the attitude of the health department, but
That's
Actually, I can actually tell you that because I worked at the health department and I did some contact tracing for them. And that is what they're doing now. Originally they weren't, but now when they call you, they say, have you been vaccinated? Do you have any symptoms? If you've been vaccinated, no symptoms, you don't have to quarantine.
That's the same that they're doing at my children's school, the public schools.
okay, is that how soon, how recent was that? I mean, is that pretty recent? Because it wasn't that, what was it? The night of the gala, so that was the end of October.
Well, I was gonna say November when I was there.
Okay.
And I believe that's been in our safety plan this whole time. And that was approved. I can look, but it's on the website. Approved September, updated.
Is that 2020?
Correct.
Yeah. I was just concerned that, the health department wouldn't necessarily follow our plans. And if too many people had to quarantine, that it could impact on our ability to keep the library open.
We have not heard from the health department.
Well, thank you for the update.
Yep.
You had another question?
Did I have another question?
Yes, you said you had a couple questions?
Well, it was around the COVID exposure and what would be, what the impact might be. I did have another question though. I had thought, and I may be remembering incorrectly, or maybe this didn't get implemented, but I thought we had a percentage of 7-day positives at which we would choose to close the library. And I thought it was 5%, but I looked at the safety plans and I didn't see that. Am I remembering incorrectly? Or do we need to update our plans?
Something about 7. The number 7 is what I'm remembering. And
Okay.
I have spoke, I take that liaison position very seriously, so I keep in touch with Paul about numbers. And he keeps checking the numbers too, and is of the opinion that while there might have been increases, they're not at the level in which we needed to change any of the steps that we've taken at this point?
I think that they have been up around the 6-7% level for Rensselaer County. I think our attitudes may be different than had been in the past, though. So it might, if we have that as part of our policy, it might behoove us to change the policy. I think we've come to accept the presence of COVID. We're not coming from the point that we expect that it's going to stop. You know, we're just coming to live with it more and work around it. So we may need to, if that's the case, if there's a hard number in there, we may need to revise that policy. That was it.
And, you know, I think part of the changes too are so many more people are vaccinated and so many more people now even have their booster shots, that it does change the game, basically, the processes we have to look
Right.
at. But again, Paul was assuring me that the numbers were within the parameters of not needing to make any changes really to our process.
They've been, if the number is 7, it's been pretty sort of vacillating around that, and we're surrounded by 2 counties that have even higher positive rates.
Right.
So it's a concern.
But it's something that we keep looking at anyway, on a regular basis, so. And
And
Paul's
what-
looking at, staff's looking at, everybody's looking at it continually.
And what about ourselves as far as having been exposed to someone who's tested positive?
What, I didn't hear the beginning.
Our-
Where,
What about, like, for us, those who were exposed to the person at the library who tested positive? I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm not there, is because I thought it was safer to call in than to either expose people or have a further exposure. Should we be taking precautions?
facetiously, I swear, or I think we all show the precautions that we do on an ongoing basis anyways. And, was a choice to come either in person. You know, we all looked at those who have decided to come in person, but it was a safe enough thing to do.
But
Certainly
perhaps
other-
those people had more information than I have, for instance. So I chose to err on, on the cautious side.
Now, the same message has been out to everybody, staff, board, friends, everybody pretty much heard, the same thing. That's what we know. So again, it's those choices on any part of our lives about how we live it, where we associate with, what works best for each of us. And it's as valid a choice not to, to do this virtually as it is to do it in person. And right now, until the 15th, again, the 15th of January, for some reason, that magic number, as a special district library, we still have the ability to have a remote option and do. I mean, we always will have a remote option. I want to be careful about that, but we aren't required to be in person at all.
And
There are things-
perhaps Carolyn's update that the health department has changed its guidance was helpful, at least to me, to know that, that the guidance is if you're asymptomatic and have been fully inoculated, that you don't have to quarantine. Is helpful, Carolyn. Thank you.
Sure. And I was even doing it, so it's, it's just I learned a lot. So,
And it seems like an interesting thing to do.
So, any other questions? then I will again make the motion that we may adjourn at this point in time. Seconds. All in favor?
All right,
Aye.
All right.
And,
And
oh,
Jamie?
I did think of one further question. I thought, Evelyn, that you had said that once the holidays are passed, the building committee would be occurring on the 4th week of the
Yes.
month.
Yes,
And didn't we get sent out a listing where it's the 3rd week of the month?
I did make my initial draft agenda did have the incorrect date. Evelyn very kindly brought that to my attention. I have updated and I sent out a revised agenda today, which I believe contains the correct date. So
Well, I missed the correct date. I'm sorry, I missed that part.
tomorrow, we are meeting tomorrow.
we are meeting tomorrow.
Okay, that's
But
the
then-
part, that's the one that I was concerned about. Okay, so you
Yes,
are.
we are
still
still meeting tomorrow.
Yep.
Yes, that is correct. It's the draft agenda included a proposed date for the January meeting, and that January meeting date I had incorrect. So I believe it has now been corrected in the draft agenda. Again, it's just a draft agenda, open for discussion. So if people want to make adjustments to it at the meeting, I certainly am open to that. But I believe that the date for the January meeting is now set for the 4th Wednesday instead of the 3rd Wednesday.
And then Evelyn,
26th.
give me that
And
link.
I sent her that too, because
Yeah.
in your email, part of the attachment or the bottom of it listed all the dates till June, and it was all the 3rd Wednesdays. So I sent Joy a note with the 4th Wednesday. But I'll just make it clear, I love that term, unsustainable. The 3rd Wednesday for me will be unsustainable. Because I'm bookended now. I have a meeting that goes to later in the afternoon, and now I have a 6 o'clock meeting.
The 4th, I think we had talked about the 4th Wednesday. I think that was the intent.
So I sent her the list of the 4th Wednesdays. I sent you a list of the 4th Wednesdays.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And
I
I
got
think,
a butt in. Just
I
what
think it
do.
works better too, to have some distance from the board meeting.
Agreed.
So thanks for the clarification. Sorry, last question, I promise.
Okay.
If you just said something, Evelyn, I didn't hear it.
Was that your last question, Marie?
Oh, do you read sign language? Yes,
I wish I could.
Yeah.
yes, it is. That was my last question.
We lost you, Evelyn. Okay. All right, does that mean we're done? Okay,
Thank you. Goodbye.
thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.